All
I
right,
don't
well,
like
I'll go ahead
Ghost.
and give my fucking fake plug this week. If you ever want to be blasted out of your fucking mind while you're going to do a workout, Beyond Raw, fucking lit pre-workouts, you can pick these bitches up at the Dollar General, and they really it makes like it feels like your heart's gonna fucking implode on itself, like to where I had to stop mid-set, and I was like, am I about to have a heart attack? Like, is this what that feels like? Oh my God. I never thought a carbonated drink you picked off the clearance rack at a Dollar General would do that, but
Who would have
if you
guessed?
ever knew it,
Off the
here it is right
clearance.
Off
there.
the yeah,
Beyond Raw, fucking pre-workout boys.
not
Shit
the
box.
clearance rack, freaking
If it's
pre-workout
on the
drink.
clearance rack, you need to send them an email, and I bet you those. If they're on the clearance rack, there's a reason.
Hey,
I bet you they'd spot.
they already responded to me on my Instagram story I posted about them, so
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm gonna get that plug, boys.
Hell yeah, boys.
If I don't have a heart attack by 32, then this didn't really work.
Is it even a pre-workout?
Whose turn is it to give the introduction? I think it was you, Kyle. You fuck.
I gave it last time.
No, you made me give it
you?
last time,
Did
and then you
you?
tried to tail on your own version of it at the end and be like, well, whatever, you already did it.
All right. Well, welcome to the Seance Sunday podcast. Today we're going to be going over. No, it's not the ritual. Sorry, I got the void pulled up. I'm terrible at this. Anyway, Seance Sunday podcast. The ritual. Today, right now.
As this freaking screen freezes.
Yeah, you keep fucking
Right
jerking
now.
out. Your screen's jerking off, bud.
Oh, is it really? Oh, that's terrible. Anyway,
Clear your internet.
welcome to the
connection, you
Seance
piece of shit.
Sunday podcast. Today we're going to be covering the ritual. We'll be having a great time. And I would really like to thank today's fake sponsor for giving me the concentration necessary to get through the
Recording. Zin.
movie.
There you go.
Zimbabwe's.
That's right.
And if
Zinnies.
Zins aren't enough to cure your craving or to give you the energy boost you need, the other sponsor is Ghost.
Thanks.
I know it's backwards, but fuck it. Who knows? Anyways, plenty of energy with these things, and they taste delicious.
All
I
right,
don't
well,
like
I'll go
Ghost.
ahead and give my fucking fake plug this week. If you ever want to be blasted out of your fucking mind while you're going to do a workout, Beyond Raw, fucking lit pre-workouts, you can pick these bitches up at the Dollar General, and they really it makes like it feels like your heart's gonna fucking implode on itself, like to where I had to stop mid-set, and I was like, am I about to have a heart attack? Like, is this what that feels like? Oh my God. I never thought a carbonated drink you picked off the clearance rack at a Dollar General would do that, but
Who would have
if you
guessed?
ever knew it,
Off the
here it is
clearance.
right there.
Yeah,
Beyond Raw, fucking pre-workout boys.
not
Shit
the
box.
clearance rack, freaking
If
pre-workout
it's on the
drink.
clearance rack, you need to send them an email, and I bet you those. If they're on the clearance rack, there's a reason.
Hey,
I bet you they'd spot.
they already responded to me on my Instagram story I posted about them, so
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm gonna get that plug, boys.
Hell yeah, boys.
If I don't have a heart attack by 32, then this didn't really work.
Is it even a pre-workout?
I don't know. If it's not giving you a mild heart attack, are you even taking pre-workout, bro?
If your heart didn't skip an actual beat, not a metaphorical one, an actual beat,
Yeah.
did you really take pre-workout?
Yeah, I've taken pre-workout like 3 times. I didn't like it.
I love it. It gets my blood pumping from my heart to the rest of my body.
And I will say this Ghost pink, oh damn it, pink lemonade. It's the best flavor. The only one better than this is their bomb pop flavor, which I forgot what it's called. If they sponsor us, I'll remember the name of it then. But they gotta pay us for
Mixes
that.
mixes well with alcohol too. Just by the way, don't do it. I'm not gonna say that's a good idea. But
Yes,
if you
kids.
want to stay up.
Energy drinks mixed well with alcohol. But anyways, you know what? I'm gonna change it up. Let's do the movie review and then do the cryptid hunt, because the cryptids directly pertain or in the myth, the folklore, and region of where the movie takes place in the ritual. So, with that, I'm going to give a quick summary of the movie. Just, whoever hasn't seen it, they get a good idea of what's going on. So, The Ritual from 2018, I believe, is when it came out on Netflix. 5 longtime friends, Luke, Phil, Hutch, Dom, and Robert, make plans to go hiking in northern Sweden, or in the Swedish forest, in Sweden. Rob was killed in a liquor store robbery before they were able to take it together, so the remaining 4 friends go in his honor. They become lost in the Swedish forest and start to encounter strange and ominous symbols of a cult that inhabits the forest. They worship an old god that is very, very creepy, and a lot of crazy shit happens, obviously, in a horror movie. So, that's a brief summary of the movie. Let's start off right from the beginning. In the beginning, you start off strong with Rob getting killed at that liquor store. How fucking shitty was that, dude? Like, I felt so bad for Luke. He's the guy that, goes into the liquor store and tries to convince everybody else to come along with him, because they're 5 long friends that are kind of distant. They've all kind of grown up and started their careers and some have started families. So they don't hang out as much anymore. So there's this little bit of like weird disconnect between all 5 of them. And Luke seems like the guy that never really grew up or progressed since college. I guess whenever they became friends or when they were younger, whenever they met, because it's not specifically stated in the movie when they met and how long they've been friends, just that they've been friends for a long time and they all know each other real well. But it seems like Luke never really progressed since, their fun party days or whatever. So he still wants to stay out late, keep drinking, party. Where everybody else is like, yeah, I got work in the morning, dude. Yeah, wife and kid are calling me. I got to go home. But anyways, they get together after that long time and they're trying to plan something to do because they haven't seen each other in a while. They want to do something. And so I believe it is Robert. He makes the suggestions like, why don't we go hiking? Hiking in Sweden, the Swedish, I want to say, is the Swedish Alps? Is that right?
I think that's what he said. He referenced specifically what it is, but you just kind of throw it off for the rest of the movie because you don't think that's what it's going to be about. So
yeah, the Swedish
I think
wilderness.
they call it the King's Trail.
Yeah. So, Rob wants to go hiking on this, and the only person he really talks about it with is Luke, who is in the liquor store, and Rob follows him into the liquor store because Luke wants to get another bottle of vodka and, keep the party going. Well, while they go into the freaking liquor store, they don't realize at first because they're having a conversation that place is getting robbed, like, as they just walk in. And so obviously the robbers come out of the back room after beating up the clerk and the liquor store owner, and Luke freaks out and freaking Brady very vocally stating he's a pussy, so he runs and hides and leaves Robert by himself to face these 2 thugs with weapons and knives and a bat, I think the other guy has, and pretty much pusses out and just stays hidden the whole time. Well, Rob goes to give the robbers, they give me your wallet. So he goes to give him their wallet and he's like, what else you got? He's like, you can take my watch. And they want to take his ring, but it's his wedding ring. He's like, no, it's my wedding ring. You're not taking my wedding ring. And so they're fighting. The 2 robbers are arguing back and forth. They're like, just take it from him. And Rob's kind of pleading with him. He's like, no, please, it's my wedding ring. Don't take it from me. One of the robbers is so high strung. He's like, you either take it from him now, or I'm gonna kill him right now or do him in right now. And about that time, Rob looks back to look at Luke, who's hiding behind one of the end caps in the liquor store. And about that time he goes to look back, that freaking guy with the bat comes across, wham, whacks him right over the head, knocks him down, and Luke ends up dying. So that's how that movie starts. It's pretty fucked. Now,
So I'll pick apart the first half of the movie
go ahead.
because very accurate in the fact that Rob is definitely one of the guys that's just like, he doesn't have a wife and kids. He doesn't really have anything going for him, which is interesting. How I
I
really
mean
enjoy this
Luke.
movie. Even yeah, Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Luke.
Luke,
Yeah.
main character. Rob is the guy that gets killed in the liquor store. Hutch, Dom, and what's the other one's name?
Phil.
Phil.
Phil's the Indian
They're all
looking guy, the
outside.
darker skinned man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, the most lackluster character in this entire show. He's the worst. I hate him. He just is. He didn't even need to be there. To be very honest, he held no value to the movie at all. But you're right. They're mentioning all like these weird trips that they've clearly been on, Amsterdam and where else they wanted to
They
go,
want to
like
go to
Aruba.
Vegas, I think.
Yeah, Vegas was mentioned in it. And then you come outside and you see one of the most relatable scenes in our time of life now, especially since we're approaching 30. Everybody's like, dude, it's a weekday, it's a school night. I don't want to stay out and keep drinking. I'm going to be miserable tomorrow if we do. And
Yeah.
then there's also a very, very tiny little Uber plug in there. I don't know if y'all heard that. I don't know if they like had to do it. I feel like Uber was like a portion
Like
of
one of the
this movie, like
sponsors. Yeah.
supported it.
Maybe,
Yeah,
but he's
but they
like,
had to
yeah,
throw
I'm going to take an Uber.
the Uber plug in there. And then Rob and man, why I keep forgetting these guys' names. This is the only this is the big problem I had with it. We didn't have enough background story from most everybody to like really
Yeah.
remember their names.
I can tell you,
But
Rob's the guy that dies. Luke is the main character, or would be the main character. Phil's better, for lack of a better explanation, he's the Indian feller, or the darker skinned
Yeah.
fella. And Dom is the guy with glasses. And Hutch is kind of like the Boy Scout. He's
Yeah.
he's real known about, I guess, the outdoors. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The butler
Well,
from Downton Abbey.
exactly. Yeah. Well, they go into the liquor store and just broing out. You don't leave a bro to go by himself. So Buddy comes in with him. Luke and Rob. Rob is a trooper, wants to help him out. They walk into the most generic robbery in all of like the English, like just anytime you think of like a European robbery, it's exactly what you think of. Two thugs on a weekday robbing a liquor store that's on a
With
heavily
a
trafficked street
with a
with
knife.
a 30 or it's like a 38 special, and it was not a bat, it was like a metal pipe.
Oh,
The fuck? Why do you have a metal pipe with you? Such an English thing for some reason.
yeah, we're gonna fuck him
and
up right with a fucking metal pipe.
That's exactly how that fucking went. It was super generic, and I thought it was funny how it was. Hit the vodka, and Luke just immediately abandons his buddy. Almost immediately, he's like, "I'm gonna hide behind this." And
Panics.
instead of stepping up like anybody else, I feel like would have in that situation. I mean, it's 2-on-2 right there. One of them has a gun, but still, you got better odds because you don't know you're around the corner. Instead, he just watches his buddy get wasted while doing a very noble thing, holding up his wedding ring and not wanting to give that up. Just watches like an absolute puss bag behind the fucking thing. Doesn't do anything. Has a chance to even save him because he gets hit twice. The first one,
Oh yeah, knocks
maybe
him
a little
down.
bit of brain damage, definitely some, cosmetic stuff going on. The second one is what does him in when he's on the fucking ground.
Oh yeah, and he comes across down on him. Bow.
Yeah, and he even has the thought. He like flips over the vodka bottle. He's like smash it over his head or do something. He just fucking sits there, and it's so annoying to see that. I hate it.
It was annoying. Yeah,
It
I
really
can,
was. It really.
I can give him that, like, because he he sees you, he thinks about it when he looks at the vodka bottles, like I can do something, but then I guess the fear gets the best of him and he just locks, he freezes up, he's terrified. The whole thing, he's like, he feels like a coward. They reference him as a coward later on in the movie, and I guess from that moment on, that's his biggest regret. Is he had the chance, he could have done something, he just did not act on it, or chose not to act on it out of fear. But you wonder why he's so, I guess, hesitant, and he has that mentality. I guess it shows because he's the only one that's not married. He doesn't have, like, I guess, a career or whatever. It's not stated that he does or he doesn't. He's still trying to live the bachelor life. So he doesn't have anything, I guess, I wouldn't say of value to him other than himself. But I mean, His friend's right there about to get murdered.
I
You
think
figure
that's
that
accurate. I think what you just said is very accurate. He has nothing of value except himself, and that's why he didn't do anything. Like that makes it seems like he had such like a cushiony, pillowy life to where like that was like the pinnacle of it, and he chose to do nothing except for save himself is what he did.
Yeah, unfortunately, and it obviously that haunts him, and that's kind of
Yeah.
the prevailing character arc throughout the movie is him dealing with that regret and that pain of inaction because he was just too scared, and he's like, I should have done something, but he didn't. Now, Kyle, you did watch the movie, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right. I was just wondering because you were pretty quiet, and I want to know if you wanted to chime in at any
I
point.
was just thinking. I'm thinking because part of me wants to argue back a little bit, just give a little bit of pushback on y'all's character
Please.
of
Our
of
character
Luke.
analysis.
So I don't think y'all are wrong, right? He's clearly a pussy. It's clearly he's suffering from the inaction, and he's clearly, that's really going to be the prevailing thing. Is that he knew he could have done something, he should have done something, and that's where the suffering comes from because he didn't take a stand. The word that came to my mind was commitment issues. He doesn't have a wife, no kids, really obscure job if he has one. Oh, there it is.
Perfect.
Perfect timing. But here's the but is that I don't think anyone knows what they're gonna do when they're in that situation. When you're staring down a barrel, when you see two guys, even if they just some junkies, like they could have taken them.
For all I know, like
Let's
that
be
gun
real
couldn't
here. They
even
had
been
all
loaded.
the glass
I know.
I don't actually remember seeing the gun. I don't remember seeing a gun in their hand. I just saw the
It's
two
a little
pipes.
snub
I saw
nose
the
like 38 special. That's all it is, and he doesn't even point it at him. He just points it down. Like it's just a fucking two English wankers just roughing up this fucking liquor store for a little bit of cash with a fucking metal pipe and a 38 special that they're not even going to use because clearly that guy was not going to shoot anybody.
Yeah. Even the guy.
If he did, he would have missed. But
Yeah.
all I
for
could think of in that situation, I was just like, I just start grabbing bottles and start eating them. But everyone thinks that they're going to do a certain thing until they're in the situation, and you never know how you're going to react.
Yeah.
What you're going to do. I certainly think that I would have had the foundation necessary to do
Combat.
something. But
Yeah.
you just don't know.
That's
you just
true.
don't know until you're there. And
And
I'm
that-
skeptical of people who are like, oh yeah, I would definitely do this in a high intensity. Like, are you sure?
Yeah. Because
I
no
don't
one
know.
actually knows.
I get skeptical of people.
Yeah. And that was going to be like, I also had that thinking in my same time when Brady says like, no, he was just a pussy. I'm like, yeah, he was pretty cowardly. I ain't going to admit, especially when his friend's life was in danger. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, put myself in his shoes. I don't know how I'd react. I would like to think I'd be virtuous enough to like act and try to defend myself and my friend or one of you guys if we were put in that situation. But I don't know if that would be my gut. Like I'd be able to act on it just like that. I'd like to think I would, but I don't know. It's like this whole thing. You don't know the true character of a person until they're tested, that kind of thing. So it's like, that's why I said I can't completely fault him, because if I have to look at myself and, analyze myself, put in that situation, I might very well do the same thing. But like I said, Kyle's the only one who has actually like combat training, so I highly believe Kyle would be ready. Out of the three of us, not to say that us, me and Brady are pussies or anything, but Kyle's would seem the most prepared because he's because he's.
I mean, that's just what kind
on
of
that
sets up
point-
his character arc, though. It sets up the fact that he is the weakest and he only cares about himself. Like, this is one of his oldest friends, one of the buddies that was just like, you know what, fuck it. It's a weekday. I'll still come in the fucking liquor store with you and buy a bottle. But instead of doing anything, he chose to save himself, which I completely understand, and I agree with the fact that you don't know what you're going to do until you're in the moment. But if it was one of y'all, I'm like rolling the bottle, like making noise, doing something. Goddamn.
I know.
Pocket sand.
Pocket sand, yeah, you can pull Dale Gribble, son.
So you won't
pocket
do it,
sand.
throw the bottle at him.
praise Dale, let's go. Anyway, so on the point of you mentioned like I would be more prepared. One of the things I when we were talking about this I thought of was I just watched a Leo recap. I think it was Donut Operator was doing a little breakdown, and he pointed out an incident where this officer, whenever there was an encounter that he had, drew his weapon and only fired once. And I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know anything about law enforcement strategies or what they train. But the way that Donut was talking about it was that no one's trained to just pull the trigger once. And so it shows that even though he's had training for these encounters, that he wasn't prepared for that eventuality of having to draw his sidearm to do whatever it is he had to do.
Yeah.
And so even then, even when you think you're trained, even when you just never know until you're there. But I definitely don't want this to sound like I'm disagreeing with y'all's overall assessment of Luke.
No, I
It
got
definitely sets the groundwork for his
character arc.
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it just kind of seems like these are just old friends that are definitely falling apart, like
They've fallen out,
relationship wise. Yeah, they're definitely not as close. But like I said, it all just goes into that's why I still like the movie a lot, because it sets his character arc instead of giving us a backstory, which is nice because a lot of times when they don't give you a backstory, you're like, this is an absolute shit movie, but it's not. So
Yeah. And I guess starting it off with such a dramatic first scene, I guess, into like any type of horror or graphic imagery, it also like gives you like an emotional reaction to it. You're like, oh, Jesus. And as we can, we've all given our opinion. We all thought something differently about that scene and about how the movie is set up, which I guess is a good way to start a movie. You don't grab them just with like visuals and action and intensity. You grab them like emotionally and psychologically right from the beginning, and you're drawn in. You're like, oh, okay, like I can get into it now. It's almost like instantly you're like committed to like I have to see what happens, like what's gonna happen. Even from like the trailer or the poster, you're like the ritual. It's a weird way to start, to set up something that has to do with like supernatural kind of material, to set it up in this way. But yeah, like I said, it's all for the character arc.
I agree.
So the very next scene, Brady, you made a comment about this when we were doing like the pre-conversation of this. You mentioned whether or not this scene took place as it were, or if it was a dream. And I hadn't thought of it being a dream, but it does follow the theme of the movie of these dreams and having weird flashbacks. And so maybe it was. Was it in that first opening scene that when he looks at the bottle of vodka, he sees the blood floating on the inside of it?
No,
that's
not in the scene.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that all the
later
other
thing.
flashbacks?
Yeah, it's in
just
one
in
of
the
the other flashbacks that he has. I think it's in the second or third one that he has. Because like right from that scene, it goes to him, his friend dying and bleeding out, and the guy's running off, and then it's him waking up in a tent. Luke waking up in a tent. He's like, oh shit, realizing like it's also a very traumatic memory he has, so much so that it's plagued his dreams. Like it's all he dreams about now is like this event and how much pain and stuff he has for it, which does play into what I believe is the reason he's chosen or marked by the creature in the movie. But we'll get to that as we progress.
So are we ready to talk about the mark? 'Cause I'm ready to talk about the mark.
Not yet. Let's I guess walk our way through the movie. So he wakes up in the tent. They're in northern Sweden. I believe that's what the little title thing says whenever he comes out of his tent. And it's Phil, Hutch, Dom, and Luke now. They've all decided to take this trip that Rob wanted to go on. And I remember thinking that Rob mentioned it while they were at the table, but no one really kind of paid attention. And then when he's talking to Luke in the liquor store, he's like, I think we should go on a hike, man. Like, I really think we should do this. Like, it's different from what we've done in the past. I think this would be really good because it'd just be the five of us out there in the wilderness, in nature. He's like, I think it'd be great. And obviously, you know, tragedy befalls him. So they go on this camping trip, and the thing is, now that they're on this hiking trip, the main, I guess, I would say Rob is kind of like the central friend that kind of keeps them all together, because now they're kind of doing this only to honor him because it was like, you know, what he wanted to do. And so now that you've kind of removed that core friend or that core character that kind of kept everybody together, there's this weird dissonance between all of them. Even though they're friends with each other, you feel the gap that was noticeable in the beginning, how they just, you know, talked to each other and no one really wanted to go with Luke to the liquor store or whatever. But Rob, being the good friend that he is, went with him. But now that Rob's out of the picture, there's just a bigger, I felt like there was a bigger distance between the, you know, the rest of them, the four of them. Maybe not Hutch. Yeah. Hutch seemed seemed to be pretty close to Luke. Whereas Phil and Dom, for sure, he even admits it later, like he somehow blames Luke for what happened to Rob. Mm-hmm. But anyways, they wake up. Yeah.
Yeah, and Hutch and Rob were like the glue to that like 5-man like friendship right there. And after Rob was gone, it just kind of starts falling apart. Other than this, you know, this I guess ceremony they're trying to do for Rob to take him up there and put his ashes up there and put a memory of him on the mountain. So,
and yeah, they do that. They, you know, which I thought was kind of funny, like because I watched this with my wife, and when we got to that scene. You know, they all take a swig from the whiskey flask, and then Hutch just straight up pours the rest of it out on the ground. I was like, hey, yo, that's a good waste of scotch. What
a waste.
And, and my wife said, she's like, hey, yo, you wasted all the booze. I'm like, well, it's all for Rob. I mean, I don't know if that's like customary. Is they all podcasting?
Oh,
anyways. Podcasting. Noted. Please close the door. Thank you. Wow.
Nice.
Anyways.
Disruptions everywhere.
I know. Messes up the flow. Where was I? But anyways, yeah, Hutch pours out the rest of the liquor. My wife was like, yeah, you're wasting the rest of the liquor, dude. I'm like, well, it was for Rob anyway, so I don't know if it's customary for everyone to take the sip and then the rest get poured out for the dead homie. I don't know if that's how that works.
Damn, dead homie got drunk, man. He got him drunk. And it's funny because, you know, flasks don't pour out very fast. So it's just like...
I know, real really slow, just drunk a dribble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, this movie definitely has like a couple little like comedic like parts that I just love. I love that one's one of them, and then we'll get to the one later on, which is my absolute favorite one.
And I felt like the one you're going to talk about was like... kind of like ridiculously placed, but I felt it was needed because there was such amount of attention. It was just like, wow, that was a weird comedic relief moment. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so they do that, and now they're wanting to track back to the lodge, I guess, wherever they're staying. And they look how far it is, and as they're hiking, I guess, the path back to the lodge, Dom, the guy with glasses, which I say is the biggest friggin' wimp of them all, in my opinion, even more than Luke, falls, hurts his knee, and then proceeds to make it like a huge deal. Which I'm not gonna lie,
what
hurting
an
your knee,
liability on that trip.
Exactly. And even Luke and Hutch like say so when they kind of talk privately. He's like, "Yeah, he's not gonna fucking stop moaning about it until we get back to the lodge." He's like, "You think it's as bad as it says?" He's like, "I know it's not as bad as he says."
It's most certainly not.
It's most certainly not as bad as he says.
Yeah, he was like, "Damn, it could be my meniscus." And I was like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, like you just know. It's immediately your meniscus. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so Dom hurts his knee, and they're like, "Wow, it's a long walk back to the lodge." But there's a shortcut that Hutch thinks he finds that takes him through the forest. It should be, it should save him half the day to go straight through the forest and come out the other side on the, where the lodge is. And they're like, okay, fuck it. We know Luke and Hutch kind of make the decision between the two of them. We're going to take this route. And, we'll just do our best to put up with Dom being a bitch about his knee. So they go into and this is something I noticed. I didn't know if it was prevalent or not to like a sign, like an omen, like a foreshadowing thing. When they're walking into the forest, Hutch takes out his compass and he looks at it. And I want to say like it's not being accurate. It's just kind of floating all over the place.
I had a big issue with that.
Okay.
A big issue with the way he held it almost vertical, trying to read. I mean, it wasn't quite vertical. It was well over a 45-degree angle. You got to keep them flat, my man. So he's like, it's not working. I almost lost it, dude. I couldn't.
Fun fact. Yeah,
Definitely.
Luke was a pussy, but honest to God, everybody else on the trip was the real liability. Like if Dom didn't get hurt and this motherfucker could read a compass, they might not be in a bad spot. To be very honest,
I know. And it was Hutch's idea that he found the shortcut and wanted to take it in the first place, and he kind of convinces Luke, all right, well, okay, let's go. If it'll keep us from having to hear Dom, bitch and moan for any longer than we have to, let's take it.
Hey, Dom actually comes. He hits him with some truth though. He's like, Hutch, if this was, they don't call it a shortcut. If it was a shortcut, it'd be called a route, you dumbass. I'm like, I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. You're fucking right.
Because they walk for almost a full day and still don't make it through. But I'm thinking it's because freaking Hutch, supposedly the Boy Scout that he is, can't read a fucking compass right, or can't properly use a compass. Like Kyle said, he keeps holding it up in front of his face, and so he ends up getting them lost.
They do something so stupid after that. I'm sorry, I have such an issue. Like I've been camping several times before. If I'm taking a shortcut and I run up an old rickety shack that probably shouldn't be there, I'm not going in. I'm not going in there. I don't know. They're just like, get out of the rain. Let's get out of the rain. No, fuck you. Let's keep fucking walking. What the fuck?
Negative Ghost Rider. Not in rain like that. I'd have went in that. I'd have went in that Hutch.
Plus, they're already freaked out because earlier that day while they're hiking, they come across that fucking deer that's strung up in the trees, gutted and stuff.
That scene, whenever they walk up on it, like the whole reason why they're on this detour, they see the mutilated animal and they keep going. For a minute, I had a flashback to the very first horror story I wrote, the Natchez.
That's right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Because we were.
You're trying to be deep and philosophical with it and be like Mephistopheles and shit.
Mephistopheles. Yeah. It was a terrible attempt. It was an awful story. But that's what it reminded me of, and I was like, dude, this is my story. And then it's only that little bit that's similar.
Yeah.
But look, let's put us in this situation. We walk up on some trees like tagged with like pagan Norse like words, and then we see this like reverse blood eagled like elk or deer. What are we doing? We're getting the fuck out. We going right back to the way we came. I'm not gonna keep pushing into this bitch. I'm like, this is a good sign for us to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, just turn around. Fuck it, we're already a half a day in. Let's fucking take the half day to get the fuck away from this. Out of here. And we'll just take the long way around. Like, that's the first sign they need to get out of Dodge.
To Hutch's point, you do have a certain amount of time, like with an injury, and they don't really know how bad it is. It's most certainly bad as he's making it out to be, but it could be bad. And then if there's other things going on, so you do want to try to get out. Highly recommend staying on the terrain though, because have y'all ever watched Missing 411? Any of those episodes?
Yes.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of them. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were about to say no. I'll lose my mind. Anyway, yeah, that's like number one. Don't leave the trail.
I know.
Don't leave the trail. But if you're gonna leave the trail, be sure you know how to read a compass.
Yeah. Well, like Dom says, if it was really a shortcut, it would just been called a path.
Yeah. Like it said, I don't know. Just as soon as I'm seeing pagan lettering and Norse lettering on fucking trees etched in, I'm like, guys, we're getting bad vibes here. Let's dip. Let's go back the way we fucking came. Because it was still light outside when they saw that. So I'd have been like, perfect. Let's go back.
I know. But, they kept pushing forward. And what happens? A storm rolls in and it starts raining its ass off. So I'm with Kyle on that. As the freaking conditions they were in, I'd be seeking shelter too. Even if it was only temporary for until the storm blew over or whatever. Oy.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Then they get in that motherfucker in bad shit. First off, I always thought that house, the dimensions of the house from the outside didn't make a lot of sense of how much room was on the inside because they start walking upstairs and there's like different rooms. I'm like, that like little like shack didn't look that big. Where the fuck are you going upstairs at, bud?
I know there's a whole
But then you
loft
get a
upstairs with 2 separate
yeah.
rooms in it. Like the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Because
And you
yeah,
walk into one with somebody like a straw mannequin getting blood eagled. You're like, oh, man, we should definitely stay here. No, we get the fuck out. We leave. God damn, dude. There's plenty of times for to get the fuck out of there, but no.
and what does Phil
I'd have
say?
slept with the. I'd have slept with a little
The Twig Man.
scarecrow thing upstairs. Oh
Fuck
yeah,
that. No.
I'd have been. What was his name? Luke. I would have been Phil.
Yeah, Phil.
Yeah.
Well, he's the one. Phil's the one that finds it. Like where he's worshiping it or whatever. Yeah, Phil's the one that says he's like, I'll give you guys 1,000 pounds, whoever sleeps up there with that fucking thing. And they're like, no way.
No, a reasonable answer.
I know.
Yeah.
But Brady has a point there. Like, for the size of that shack, it should not have been that roomy on the inside.
For real. God damn.
There was
Also,
even.
who lived in that motherfucker? I guess. So I also kind of think that was the home of the demigod, the animal, the monster, whatever we're gonna
Yeah.
call it. It's technically a demigod. What did they say? It's like the bastard son of
Of
Loki,
Loki. It's.
which also
Yeah.
really kind of threw me off because Loki only technically had 3 sons. He had Jormungandr, the serpent, the world serpent. He had Hel, which was the demoness of, or the demigod of the underworld, and then he had what was the other one? There's one more.
I have no idea. I'm not well read on my Norse mythology. Kyle, look it up.
Fenrir, the wolf. Those
Oh,
are his
yeah.
3 sons. That's the only ones that are ever talked about in Norse mythology. So like some weird bastard son, like that was I was like that threw me the fuck off because I went through this like really weird phase of like really like into
Stuff.
Viking shit. Like I tried to learn how to like speak like Icelandic and shit like that. Like I went through it. Like I knew like the
You went
chant they
deep.
did around
You went
the
deep in the
fire and
rabbit
shit.
hole.
It was a
I did. I think
phase.
yeah, I was
I think I have an old Norse book on my bookshelf in the living room. No, it's Old English. I lied. It's Old English. But I was reading or watching a review, and one of the things that the guy pointed out was that this isn't actually based off of the Loki. It's based off of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, it's
That's what the author of the book.
based it off of.
What was that?
It's
Yeah,
like
the author
cosmic
of the book
horror,
that
yeah.
this. Yeah, and hang on, I sent the text to y'all. It was probably way out of context. Yeah, it was way out of context. Where is it at?
Oh, H.P.
It was
Lovecraft, the Black Goat of the Woods or something like that.
Black Go to the Woods. Black Go to the Woods. It was one of the ancient ones.
Oh.
Allegedly, I didn't do any further research on that. Actually, let's look it up. But
Interesting. Okay.
I was gonna
yeah,
say
so it's
I
an
was
H.P.
gonna say
Lovecraft
like
horror.
Inspired.
if it was based off of actual Loki, so I'm like, so did Loki like go into the forest and fuck like some deer or elk shit, and like that's what it was, because that's what it looks like. Like it
Yeah,
looks like he just
it's
like
got
put his
horns.
like godlike steaming inside of some sort of like weird like elk or something, and it's just kind of living in there with its little hands.
Yeah.
By the
it's
way,
creepy.
this being a Netflix movie, honest to God, it's pretty well made, like graphics wise, and that monster was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, the creature design was really, really something special in my opinion. I thought it was really great and unique creature design. But not to get too far, off topic and into the future. So while they're in this freaking shack, they all have an experience because they all end up eventually falling asleep after they find the freaking straw scarecrow looking thing that is, so for some, I did notice like they focused on the feet a lot, and it was like duck feet, which I
Yeah,
thought was
it's like
weird.
some weird animal.
Yeah. I don't know if that plays in anywhere else, but it's something I did notice that they specifically made a point whenever they're leaving the room. They do that shot where they're real close to like the feet of the animal as, the light fades from the room and they close the door. But anyways, they all fall asleep and we go right into Luke's dream that he has, and he's just reliving the dream he had the night before, where he's in the liquor store, Phil's laying on the ground dying, and I believe this is where he's holding the vodka bottle again, and he sees the drop of blood in it, and that's, I guess, when he kind of comes to, and he's standing out in the middle of the woods, and something runs off from him like real fast, and he looks down and he's bleeding from his chest, and he has the mark on him. Now, you guys have any idea what that might symbolize or what that is? I know, Kyle, you
Well,
said something about it.
one problem I fucking have is if you're sleeping in an unknown shack in the middle of clearly some sort of fucked up forest, if a light comes through the window, I'm going right back to sleep. I don't know why in the fuck you get up and go check on this fucking fluorescent light outside. You go back to sleep. Everybody knows that. Just go back to sleep, man. Don't go check that shit out. Are you stupid? And then he doesn't even really attempt. He's like, guys. Nobody says anything. Goes outside. Why? Why are you doing this? You didn't even protect your buddy with a fucking vodka bottle when he's getting actually robbed. So you're just going to go investigate this fucking bright fluorescent light outside? What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
After
Isn't that a dream though?
that's the thing. It's like
I
his
thought that was
dream.
part of the dream. He wakes up in the dream, like in his dream he wakes up, but he, like, after the whole encounter in the fluorescent whatever and the flashback, he then wakes up again with the mark, and then he's like screaming at everyone else is losing their mind. One guy pees in his pants, the other guy is like crying in a corner, and then guy number 4 is upstairs worshiping a straw person.
The idol.
Butt ass naked.
Which is crazy. Like, I feel for Phil, the guy who was upstairs, like, naked, worshiping this thing completely, like, which is weird. I don't know why he was holding his hand up like that and, bowed before it, which maybe that plays into, like, the creature requires you to bow to it as some sign of worship. But
So that's one of my issues that I haven't really been able to wrap my head around with this particular, like, the consistency. I don't know if maybe it's more clear in the book, but
probably
so you
is.
have he's marked. So the question becomes, well, why is he marked? It alludes later in the movie that the mark has to do with the god seeing that you have a lot of suffering, almost like he feeds off of the suffering.
Yes.
So does that
that's
mean
my
that these
thought.
other guys experiencing the horror, like their nightmares, is that like not as much? Like, are they just not suffering as much? Which I think sort of, in a weird way, like counteracts the statement earlier about him having a very soft life. You would think that he wouldn't have. I don't know. It's just weird. And the other issue that I have with the mark and that whole scene is the scene of Phil praying, because later in the movie they say that the only way to get around it is if you have to bow,
Yeah.
but maybe it's only the chosen who bow live, and then if you're not chosen you bow, you just get stomped. But he's praising this monster, and when he wakes up from his nightmare he's praising the statue. So
Yeah.
wouldn't he get to
Yeah.
live? But he doesn't live.
Well,
It's just
so
weird. I haven't really been able to
I have a
figure
couple
that out.
touch points too. I have a couple touch points to exactly what Kyle says. First off, this demigod it's a dreamcaster. I think if we go look in the book, I think it's gonna say, because the demigod can project those dreams, because they weren't technically dreams. It was all happening, but the demigod can project it, as we see later on. It projects to Dom when he's getting sacrificed and stuff like that. And I think what the demigod does is it preys off of the weakest. It preys off of the person who's going to worship him, because this demigod seems like it thrives off of worship from people. So it chose through the dreams who would be the weakest and who would submit to him. Even though Phil was
Yeah.
upstairs, he still had qualities that, the demigod didn't want. But,
This all
Luke
goes
being outside.
Yeah, and maybe that all pertains back to Luke not really having anything personally to live for other than himself, his own, his own desires. Like, he doesn't have, family or anything. Whereas Dom, he gets plagued with the dream. When Luke comes in from outside and waking everybody up, he's in the corner screaming, "Gail, Gail, Gail," which is his wife's name. And later, he says, like, "I was just dreaming of my wife. Like, I don't know why I was dreaming of her, and I was just screaming her name," which I didn't understand what Phil's dream was, because it made him worship or whatever, like submit to it. And this is where I agree with Brady, because it seems like Phil didn't really have any type of
Yeah,
backstory
he
or
was just a
character.
filler character. They just needed somebody else in there, but he just had no structure to the entire story. I didn't think.
Me neither.
I agree with that, but I don't know that you necessarily need backstory. Now that you've explained what you explained, Brady, I'm 100% on board, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Everyone else had something in their life. Okay. So everyone had a great purpose in life. He didn't. Phil. Phil didn't have.
Jesus
Phil
Christ.
doesn't have a purpose, so he worships, but he also didn't suffer enough to be chosen. And
Yeah.
so the demigod wants to choose
Luke.
Luke because
Yeah.
he has no purpose,
And
but
he
he's
has
also suffered a great deal, so he
Yeah.
thinks he would be the subject.
Yeah,
Okay.
he'd be the
I-
one
I
most
dig- I'm digging it.
susceptible to being, subjected and following and worshiping, the demigod. Interesting. This is all coming together. This is really great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
Brady definitely got the most into this movie.
yeah,
Oh,
It
I have a whole nother subsection that we need to talk about after this because it happens right after this, and I'm about to connect something that I didn't connect during the movie that I think I just connected now. So
got you. All right, well,
All right,
then
let's do it.
moving right along, after all this happens, they're like, we're getting the fuck out of here. We need to find our way back. They kind of agrees, like, it's time to turn around. Like, it's time to go. And I think Hutch is the only one that continues, is like, no, if we just stick on the shortcut, we'll be done. We'll be out of here in half a day or whatever. He's like, you said that yesterday, Hutch, you piece of shit. And then
and then
Dom,
Dom goes back on his shit though because he's like, "There's a clear path right here. We're gonna follow this." I'm like, "Okay, clearly something made this path that's very large, over 10 foot tall, and we're just gonna follow that motherfucker." God, you're going back on your words here, bud.
I don't know.
So if we ever go hiking and we end up in a situation like this, and someone tries to go off on their own, I'm leaving you. I will leave you.
Totally understandable.
I'm not doing this. I'm not playing this game with y'all.
Yeah.
I would also probably talk to you guys about the dream where I got murdered too. I would definitely be like, "Hey, let's actually talk about this." I feel comfortable enough to talk about the weird shit that happened last
Yeah.
night.
Because I think that's only like Phil's like kind of reasonable like characters, because he tries to get everyone to talk to. He's like, are we just not going to talk about this shit? I had a really fucked up dream, dude, and I woke up worshiping a fucking scarecrow. Like, are we just not going to talk? Like, he was, everybody else kind of seemed in denial, and he was the only one like being rational. It's like, we need to talk about this. Like, I need to talk about this, but no one else wants to hear it. Like, everyone just shut the fuck up. That didn't happen. We're getting out of here.
Yeah, they're not that close to friends. They're really
I know
not.
they can't be. I'm like, and that, I guess that goes more toward like where their friendship, they start to separate from each other because they've all experienced something crazy, and they still don't have a close enough bond anymore to communicate with it a bit and talk about it or be sincere, because no one wants to deal with it. Interesting.
Yeah, no, this is where the Army gets it right. Trauma bonding. It's great.
Talk
thing.
about, you see something, you say something. God damn it! I just pissed my pants and had a weird dream. Let's talk about it right now.
I know. Straight up, like, I would want to. I'd be like, no, we're not fucking moving past this like it didn't happen, guys. We have to talk about it.
Guys, something not so cool happened last night.
Yeah, Jonah Hill from This Is the End. Something not so chill happened last night, guys. Okay, so right, Dom decides to follow this path. Hutch is like, no, we need to stay on, going, I think, southwest. That's the only way out of the forest. But Dom says, fuck that. My knee hurts. I'm getting out of here. This is a clear path that I see. I'm following it, which is obviously, I believe, was made by the creature to lead them further into the forest, away from the right way to go. So they're following this path, and as they're walking, they can see, or Hutch is explaining to Luke, it's like, as long as we keep heading, in the southwest direction, we'll make it through the forest and out the other side, and we're not far. And he explains to Luke, he's like, you see the sunrise over that ledge, and obviously, on the part of the forest they're on, there's this huge hill, and there's sunlight coming through the trees at the top of the hill. And he's like, that's, I guess the opposite direction, or where as long as we follow the sunlight southwest, we'll be fine. So eventually, they have to stop because Dom is just, not having it anymore. His knee's killing him, and Luke and Hutch are just like, Dom, you're gonna have to keep going, mate. You can't just fucking give up. You gotta bear, work to fight through the pain a little bit. He's like, I'm in
Yeah.
fucking agony.
What's he say? Yeah, you're in agony or you're just in discomfort.
Comfort.
Let's
Yeah.
be really honest. What's your pain level here? Because we need to get the fuck out.
Yeah. They totally still think like Dom is freaking milking it. Which I don't blame them. Being as freaked out as they are, it's like we don't want to stop. Like you have to fight through. If we're gonna get out of here, fight through that pain, brother. We gotta get out. Oh,
But I mean, they fight through to like what, nighttime again?
yeah, it's getting
Because
dark
Luke
again.
goes and sees in the clearing and he sees the animal, which also I hate it. I guess I'm not very good at like looking at it. You can see the creature when Luke's up there, but I can't focus on where it's at in the trees. I had to
Yeah.
rewind it twice and I still couldn't see it.
What it is like he goes up to the ledge, right? Because he's like, fuck this, because Dom's adamant. He's like, I'm stopping. He's like, fuck this. I'm going up to the ledge to see if there's a clearing at the top of the hill where I can see the sunlight. So he goes up there, and it's just another grove of a bunch of freaking trees. And he's like, oh damn it. So he's all pissed. And as he's sitting there, he kind of staring off into the woods. The camera starts doing that cool, crazy thing where it zooms in.
Hmm.
And the creatures is there the whole time. You don't see it until the very end, and it's such a slight movement. And all it is the creature's hand moving from, it's holding onto a tree like that, and it just moves
Yeah.
behind the tree. It's just its hand.
Hmm.
But he sees that, and he's like, oh shit. And then I guess he sees like a figure, something shift through, I guess, the silhouettes of the trees, and he's like, fuck that. And that's when he books it back down to the hill.
Oh,
And
he
he's
he
like,
also walked way too far away, by the way. There was a point to where he like stopped for a little bit and then kept going. I'm like, dude, that's too far, man. You're walking way
exactly.
too far away
Like
from your friends.
I know. Once he got up to the ledge and saw like it was just nothing but trees, I would have just stopped there and turned right around and went back to my friends. But he's like, no. He walks further into this grove or into this crop of trees. I'm like, that's a terrible idea. You're getting further away from the people you came with. You're gonna end up
Yep.
lost yourself. Like,
So
damn.
then they end up camping out again, huh? Because nighttime falls. And like I said, this just bothers me because I'm close enough friends with you guys. If we're camping and some shit's going down like that, we all staying in one fucking tent. I'm not staying in 5 separate 15 yards apart tent type stuff, man. Like we're staying in the same fucking tent. Fuck that shit. I'm not staying in I'm not staying in my own solid tent to hear some fucked up shit going on.
Oh yeah. And like Hutch pretty much. But while they're getting, set up for camp, Hutch pulls Luke aside and is like, all right, so this is what's going to happen. Once again, Hutch acting as the leader of the group now, like making the hard choice. He's like, I'm going to send you on since you're in the best shape of all of us, which I find is really ironic because fucking Luke is smoking through this whole movie. I'm like, how is he
Yeah.
in the best shape? He's been smoking. He's the only one smoking cigarettes. I'm like, there's no way this guy can outrun these other guys. Well, maybe Dom because of the fucked up knee,
Yeah.
but still. But Hutch makes the choice he's like, you can just head southwest until you get out of the forest. You'll find the lodge and have someone come back and get me, Dom, and Phil. Because I guess while they're setting up camp, Hutch and checks on Dom's knee, and it is actually kind of fucked up. It's all red and bruised and shit.
Yeah.
So I guess we were a little too harsh on Dom. He really did fuck up his knee pretty bad. He did tear that meniscus.
Yeah. Needs to be doing calisthenics. Guy needs to be in shape. If you're gonna go on a fucking hike.
And that's the thing. Like, I think he mentioned that earlier. It's like, your wife will never believe you actually went on this hike. He's like, I fucking can't believe it myself.
Yeah.
Obviously saying he's like, I'm not in shape for this.
Yeah.
But-
And then they all go to sleep. And then, so this is something I was kind of wondering. For a second, I thought that Luke was off the sauce after that situation. Like, I thought after that, like, he was off the sauce. But he pulls out a bottle, which I'm pretty sure is alcohol.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know if
like,
y'all remember that one. But
It
I
was
don't-
like a
I-
tin,
Did
yeah.
he take a drink of it?
no, he just pulled it out like he's looking at it. And that's when he hears some shit off in the woods and he's like, oh, what the fuck is that? But
Yeah.
maybe you're right. Maybe there's a cue that he's still on the sauce. He's still drinking. So he see him pull it out. He kind of contemplates it. I thought it was water, honestly. It didn't occur to me to think that
Yeah.
it was alcohol.
Yeah. Or maybe it was even like the vodka that like Rob that he was going in for Rob. He just carries it with him to like as an everyday reminder. Which
Yeah.
right after that, he is again a huge pussy when the fucking creature comes into camp. He like unzips it. First off, big balls for unzipping your
Yeah.
tent when you're hearing
After
shit like
you hear
that.
some shit like
What
that,
the
I'm
fuck
like,
is that?
I'm not fucking opening that tent, buddy. I can tell you that right
Hell
now.
no.
And this is great sound design because they made that fucking zipper so loud. I was like, God, it's so loud. Man, this energy drink has got me wired.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Ghost energy drink. Get you through these long podcast sessions.
Wired.
Wired.
Yeah. So,
Guys,
but
I am on.
also. Go ahead,
What?
Kyle.
I was just gonna say I'm on a research mission. Like I am glued. So it started with the question of where is King's Trail. So I'm on Google Maps. I've got like my map out, everything. I'm like measuring distance. King's Trail, Kungsleden, in the northern part. If you're talking about like, I don't know, maybe this isn't the actual King's Trail. Like you look up King's Trail, it comes up with this name, this location. It's only 10 miles. So I was about to go on a rant about how these guys got lost on a 10-mile hike. I was going to lose it. But it turns out like a little bit further north, there is like, it's just right on the other side of this little lake, this little body of water. And
It's a big
I guess
forest.
that's where they're supposed to be at. It's huge. Like it goes through, shoot, where is it at? There's an airport, but it looks like it's mostly research stations, but like you can hike a massive trail up there. Maybe that's where it's supposed to be at, and they just called it Kingsleden. There's a national park, Sarek National Park. I don't know. It didn't look quite that mountainous. It did kind of look like a little bit of the terrain there at Kingsleden, but all I'm saying, need to go.
I'm down.
Y'all want to
Let's
do it?
But you know what we're not fucking doing? We're staying on the goddamn trail. That's what
Yeah,
we're doing.
that's for damn sure. And the minute any of you motherfuckers decide is like, hey, let's take this shortcut. If it was called a shortcut, it would have just been called a path. I'm with Dom.
Yeah. As soon as we see a fucking reverse blood eagle buck hanging up in the trees, we out. We're gone, guys. We need to leave.
And then we think,
Well,
we've seen this
We
before.
have a distinct advantage over them.
Yeah, we know.
We've
I know how to
learned-
read a map.
There we go. Yeah, we got a guy who can actually read a compass and then read a map. Which, for the most part, to Hutch's credit, he was right. He was reading like the map and everything right. Because at the end, you know, Luke does make it out going the way Hutch told him to go. Anyways, where were we? I forgot where we are in the story.
So I mean,
yeah.
they're camping that night, and basically the demigod dreamcast again, because it lets Luke see like the dream.
Yeah,
Because
when
like
he
at the
comes
end
out of
of
the
it,
tent.
you
yeah.
see Hutch's tent like fly off. But that's not what actually happens. When he comes to, he comes out of the tent, and Phil, lackluster filibuster character that didn't even need to be there, is like, oh, it took him, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And also Dom's fucking sleeping, good sleep.
He must be on some
And fucking-
painkillers or something, man. Because like, how do you
Yeah.
sleep through some shit? Because when he comes out of the tent, Phil's screaming his head off, in there in the middle of the camp. He's like, "What the fuck happened? What happened? It took him. It took Hutch. It took Hutch."
Also, they give up on looking for Hutch real quick. I was actually really disappointed. They're like, oh, it's dark. We'll look for him later. Let's go back to camp. I was like, what the fuck, man?
I know
Well, they
some-
did get lost twice, and I think they said they wanted to go and grab the supplies before they went any further because they've already been lost 2-3 times by this point. So I thought it made a little bit of sense.
Which also, I don't think they actually ever made it back to camp.
No.
I don't think they did.
They turned
They just
around.
stayed in one spot and like never went back to camp because the light came out, and that's when they went and discovered what happened to Hutch.
Yeah, because I think them trying to find Hutch in the middle of the night made them get lost, so they obviously couldn't find their way back to camp. So they just hunkered down in one spot, which fucking sucks. Like
Yeah.
out in the elements in the cold freaking forest, just sitting under a tree with your little flashlight all night. Like damn sure none of them slept. I'm pretty sure Phil
hell
hasn't
no.
slept since the freaking shack. Anyways, he's been.
Oh,
like,
he'd been looking sick. That's the other thing. He was looking sickly like that whole time. He looked like he had like the flu or some shit, man. He was just
Oh
a
no,
wild character in there.
it was.
And then they come about to see Hutch again, which I think it's really weird that like this may not be based directly off of like Norse mythology stuff, but everybody is reverse blood eagle. I don't know. Do you guys know what a blood eagle is?
I
It was like
It's for cut the back
it
and you
was
pull the
yeah,
lungs out.
the sacrificial thing that you would do back in like Norse mythology, back with the Vikings and stuff like that, which actually happened. It's a way to enter Valhalla without, I think, without
dying
dying in
in.
battle.
Mm,
And what they do, you cannot say a thing, you cannot speak, you can't scream, you can't do anything, or you don't get to go. But it's basically like a punishment, but to still let somebody go to Valhalla, where they literally tear open your skin, like your full skin on your back, and they remove like both of your livers and both of your lungs and like hang them up, and then you just slowly die without saying a word. If you do that, you get to enter Valhalla. But in this movie, nobody's actually blood eagled. The reverse. It's from the front. Their front is opened up, which I think is really weird. I don't know why they did that. It's an interesting concept,
yeah, like through their
especially if this is an
chest.
H.P. Lovecraft book that this is based off of. They're just doing it like a little bit backwards, just to kind of show the Norse mythology from it, but like
Hmm.
doing it just in a different manner.
That's true. That's an interesting thing. I never really, yeah, considered
Yeah.
the reverse
Yeah, I
blood
was
eagle.
never really able to understand what the face body thing on this creature was supposed to be because it was like an elk, but it looked like it was a
It was a
two twisted
torso.
humans, and you had like the
Torso.
yeah, and you had like the feet up that was supposed to be the antlers, but then you had a torso that was like twisted, and it was weird.
Yeah. It
Hmm.
was the creature is very I don't I'm very like impressed with whoever like came up with the design of the creature, because it's definitely weird, because like inside of like the front chest cavity was the actual demigod with the yellow eyes that had the hands that could touch you.
Yeah, the
And I guess
dead
that's where like
hands.
the magic came from.
Yeah, interesting concept. But they find Hutch. Obviously, somehow they freaking get him down from this tree, which I don't know how.
Yeah,
Like,
'cause he was way the fuck up there.
yeah, I mean, 10 feet up in a tree. I don't know how the fuck they got him down. I mean, you guys are, my two best friends. I would try my best to get you down from the tree if one of you guys were eviscerated in such a manner. But at some point, I'm just like, I'm sorry, bud. We need to get out of
You
here.
seem safer up there. You seem way safer up there.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to like demean your body and try to like I'm throwing rocks or something to get your shit to fall down. Like seriously, like ain't nobody's in good enough shape to climb up there and get his body down. They were throwing stuff at him.
Hopefully, he would break some branches and he just kind of slough down.
Yeah, you just see him fall, his leg like snaps. You're like, oh god, maybe we should have left him up there.
Yeah. But they end up, Luke is like, we just need to keep going. We need to keep going. He takes Hutch's compass and his pocket knife, and is
Yeah,
like, all right, we just got to keep going. And Dom's like, I'm not leaving him like this. We have to do something. We have to bury him. He's like, we don't have time to bury him. It's going to be dark soon.
yeah,
And Dom's just adamant. He's like, this is one of my friends. Even though we weren't as close as we used to be, like he's still my friend, and so he just covers him with sticks, which I thought was, I mean, for what it was honorable, and
yeah.
it shows that
It was definitely cool.
yeah,
I want to be like, I kind of want to be judgmental because the way he said it was like, "Oh, we'll send someone else out here." He made
an
it sound
excuse.
weak, but at the same time, like,
He was,
you don't have time to do it.
and this is where we see like Luke kind of forced after Hutch goes missing. He has to assume the leader role. He has to now take action because he's the fittest of the three that are left. Phil's all fucked up in the head. He's like, seriously messed up. He's not in any mental capacity to like try to do anything. He's strictly just following what everybody else does. Dom's got the bad knee, and now Luke's like, all right, it's all on me. I have to be the one to make the hard calls. And yeah, Luke was like, we can't. We have to keep going. It's like, I want to. We'll send someone back for him, but we have to keep moving. We can't stop to do this now.
Yeah. And they trek through it almost another full daylight. Like they trek through into the like early like dawn. And they finally like Luke finally finds like the clearing. Again, leaves his friends back there.
Yeah. Well, they just
Stop
hiked up
doing this.
this. Yeah, they hiked up this steep ass embankment, and so everyone's exhausted. Yet somehow Luke's is just like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go up to the very top and see if it's the way out." And he does. It's a
Yeah.
clearing, and you can see the other side of the forest. He's like, it's there. We're almost there. And then what does he
And
notice?
then the shit show happens.
Yeah. And then what does he notice? There's these little fires in the trees as the sun's going down. He can see these little remnants of, like almost like campfires in the trees off in the distance. And he, that's what they kind of pan in on, is like he notices that. And he's like, that's weird. And so he makes his way back down. And on his way back down, that's, when all shit breaks loose for real this time.
Yeah.
He's on his way down, and he sees Phil wandering around. And he says, "Where's Dom? I don't know. He was just here." And then Phil gets taken out.
Well, so if I remember correctly, what happened was he approaches them and they're both still there. And so this is the only credit I'll give to Phil's character. From the moment Phil had the dream, he's the only person that recognized that he was living out the dream. The whole time he understood that from the moment he was praying to the hay duck-footed thing,
The
and
scarecrow thing,
he
yeah.
understood that he was living out how he was going to die. Because when he gets back to him, do you all remember what Phil's doing? He's doing this.
Oh, that's
He's
right,
just
yeah.
he's on his knees doing this. He's accepting what's happening because he knew that's what was going to happen, and he gets fucking taken.
That's right.
Didn't
That's right.
someone made a comment in the movie about that though?
Really?
Now that
It's
you
later
said
on
it
when they
like
get
that.
into the village. It's later on when they get into the village. I
Yeah,
remember
that's right.
specifically.
Dom recognizes it, that, it's like, this was in my dream. But, his wife
Yeah.
Gail was in the dream. But anyways,
Yeah.
the creature comes, takes off with Phil. Luke scatters in the darkness. The sun's gone down now. It's dark.
He fucking hides again too. That fucking pussy comes out. He hides behind that tree trunk. Even though his friends just got all fucked up, he's like, "I'm out." I saw the
It's
flashlight.
like, I'm
flip.
hiding again,
I'm hiding
dude.
behind this tree trunk right here. Let everything happen to them.
And then what is he? The one, like, kind of only jump scare is when he's scanning the darkness with the flashlight, and he comes again across Dom's face, and he's like, "Ning!" He's like, "Shh, shh, be quiet. It's over there." And he links up with him, and we completely skipped a big part right when they stop because Dom's like adamant. He's like, he has to stop. They get into this argument where pretty much they're confronting each other, and Dom pretty much comes out and says it. He's like, "Don't you think it's a little fucked up that Rob died? He was covered in blood, and you come out of that store and not a drop of blood on you?" He's like, "Are you guys saying you blame me?" And that's when Luke and Dom have like that falling out. It's like, "Fuck you, you're not my friend anymore. I don't want to know you after this. Like, we're done. We're done." And, they have some
You
real
could
harsh
definitely
words.
see Dom 100% blames Luke for the entire incident, which, in retrospect, kind of his fault. Yeah, I mean, he did want to go in the liquor store and everything, but that's like the underlying, like, I guess, anxiety that Luke goes through is the fact that he thinks everybody, all of his friends, blame Rob's
Blame
death
him,
on
yeah.
him.
Yeah, because no one's really spoken to him about it. Like, I guess they haven't really talked about it. But he has this inward blame that he blames himself, and he kind of, in a way, projects that because he thinks, everybody else blames him too because, he had the chance to do something and he didn't. And he's like, "I feel like all of them know that I was being a coward. Like, I was a coward." And that is, like, shown in one of the dreams he has. Because he dreams of, Rob laying on the ground, bleeding out again, and that robber standing over him. And that's when he notices, like, the eyes of the creature, because the robber in the dream, his eyes are glowing. And what does he says? He says, "Coward." And that's when he snaps back. And that
And
thing's running off.
even Hutch, remember, because after the altercation with Dom, Hutch is like, he takes Luke to the side and he's like, "Do you think that too?" He's like, "I don't know." 'Cause clearly, they all hold some sort of resentment against him. Because
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
it's technically his fault, but
Yeah. Well, technically, it's not
Yeah.
Luke's fault, but Luke was.
It's not Luke's fault that it happened. It's just the timing of it is the reason why Rob died.
Yeah, I know. It's like you were the one that wanted to go into the liquor store, and Rob went in with you. If you wouldn't have gone into the liquor store, Rob wouldn't have gone in there and died, and we wouldn't be on this fucking trail right now. And it was all this hullabaloo. But I can't believe we skipped that part because that was a pretty crucial part of the story that they
is
have
pretty
that falling
crucial.
out. So
And the fact that Luke and Dom are the last two people with like the most resentment and hate towards each other, and they have to
survive together.
And that's the other part that pissed me off. And I don't know how y'all interpreted this, but when they're laying on the tree trunk, he's like, "All right, we got to run. We're gonna run on three. 1, 2, 3," and neither of them take off. And I don't know how y'all felt about it. I felt like that was again Luke being like, "You go first. I'm gonna be selfless and see if you go or not." That's how I took it.
I could see that, yeah. But I thought they were both like Luke was the one trying to, get them engaged in action, but they both realized at that moment they're both way too scared to be the first one to go first. So that's when they kind of look at each other. It's like, we go at the same time. No one's going first.
Yeah.
We're going together, like, now. So that's kind of them in the midst of, like, chaos. They kind of reconcile real fast, because even though they had this fight and, they said some pretty mean stuff to each other, they're still friends and they still care about each other, even though they've had the falling out. He's like, "I'm not leaving you." He's like, I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to leave you. Which I thought,
And
was...
they trek on into the cult.
Yeah, and they freaking follow.
diving deeper in.
Yeah, they go right into the cult. They follow on the path because they're running away from the monster. And what do? They fall right out of the woods onto that path with all the little torches on the ground. And they're like, "Fuck it, let's follow this."
Now, and so I can't remember exactly what happens. Did they get like knocked out by the cult people?
Yes,
Is
they
that what
do.
happens?
Yeah,
The
they make
face.
it. Yeah, they make it into the little village. They bust down one of the doors because the thing's like right behind them. They bust down one of the doors. They fall in. Luke falls on his back, and there's that weird music playing in the background.
It's like a radio.
Yeah, like it's like a record player playing some old fucking Norwegian folklore tune. I don't know, it was weird. And, he's kind of looking at everything upside down on his back, and he sees just a pair of feet, and that's when the foot comes and, like, blacks him out, knocks him out, and the screen goes black, and then it's them waking up in that room, tied up and stuff.
Yeah. And then so a lot of weird shit happens after that.
Yeah, and this is where
Yeah.
the ritual takes place, because when they wake up, they realize, they're captured or whatever. The people of the village come in and they assess them. It's like that old hag lady comes in first. I don't know what she's chewing. I want to say she's chewing tobacco or something, but it sounds gross, whatever she's chewing. She walks up to Luke, looks at him, realizes he has the mark on his chest, and she pulls her shirt down and she has the same mark. And he's like, "What the fuck?" And she gives him like a sip of water, and then she goes over to Dom, and she looks at him and just kind of walks away, and Luke's like, "No, give him some water. Give him some water. What are you doing? Give him some water." And the younger lady who's there, "Oh, I just wanted to touch on something," because remember they come across that buried tent thing with the ID
That's
in
her.
it.
That is her. That's what I wanted to touch on.
Yes.
It took me a while to figure it out. That is her. Because she's like, we sacrifice to Loki's bastard son, and that's why we live ungodly amounts of time. Because when they pull the card out, it's some lady, and
Yeah.
it's from like 1984. And I'm assuming this is like
Expired
present
in-
day what they're in.
Yeah, expired in
so, like,
1984. She's still young and
so-
everything, even though this with the ID and the card and stuff that they find with a picture of that family is all from 1980, 84, back in the 80s.
Yeah. So I'm just assuming that this cult like collects people that like get lost in the forest too, and that's how the demigod like gets his powers. Is what I would assume. It selects people that come in there, and then it thrives off of them after that. But
Yeah.
it took me a minute
To
but
put
when we
those
started
two
talking about
together,
it
yeah.
earlier, I was like, yes, that's her.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We skipped that part too, which is important. There's so many like little
Well,
nuggets
I wanted
of
to
stuff
skip
in
that
here.
part to bring it back up because it was something that seemed really insignificant in the movie. Because you're like, why the fuck did they need to find this tent and this fucking wallet bullshit? But
Yeah.
now it makes sense that the cult is collecting people that the demigod chooses.
Yeah. And I guess to tie it back, the reason Luke is marked, I think, is because the demigod senses, once again, he's the most susceptible to being, to becoming a servant or, to worshiping him, because he has the most inward pain from what he does. And I guess the demigod can see that in his dreams. Once again, when he does the dream casting thing, everybody else gets a dream of how they're going to die. All Luke has a dream of is he's reliving his pain or his his anguish every night when he sleeps. So I think that's how the demigod chose Luke, and why he chose Luke is because he has the most pain, and I guess it feeds off of it, that negative emotion, and yeah. But anyways,
Well, then they take Dom upstairs to that weird, like church room too. Only
yeah,
thing I could describe it as is like pews, like worshiping something.
yeah, they're
Uh,
all sitting down. Like
and they
it is very much is like a church, like a little chapel room, kind of.
yeah. And then they bring him back down, and that's when Dom like reconnects to what I was talking about with Phil. He realizes that the dream he had is what is happening currently, and he told Luke, this is what's gonna happen. Like this is what
Mm.
you're gonna do. You're gonna go tell Gail what happened out here. Tell everybody what happened. And he just kind of accepts fate. I'll give Dom his credit where credit is due. He
Yeah,
accepted his fate that time. He's like, let's go, let's get this shit over with.
yeah. He realizes like he's done for.
Even even yeah, he even tells the monster creature thing. He's like, come on, quit dragging ass. Let's go.
Yeah, it's like let's let this happen, which I think is like pretty ballsy for Dom, because he's throughout the movie he's kind of portrayed as like this, a whiny little bitch or something like that, the most unfit of the the group of the five of them, because he's very not to say sheltered, but he has like a very comfortable life, so he's not used to like a lot of adversity or like hard trial or anything like that. And so that's why they think it's like, oh, he's being dramatic, he's exaggerating a lot of the pain that he's in, giving everybody grief or stuff like that. But at the
And
end,
then
he's like, he just accepts his fate. He's like, I know what's gonna happen. But he looks at Luke and he's like, it's up to you. You have to make it back. You have to survive, and you have to burn this place to the ground when you leave.
yeah,
Like you have to do that.
uh,
And so they make that promise, or Luke makes that promise to Dom at the end. And I think this is where his final arc or final change, because that forces him. Now he has something to live for. It gives him a great purpose, because now it's him. He has to be the one to make it back, to tell everyone, to tell all of his friends, families, because Hutch had a wife and kids too. Like almost everybody had families. It's not specifically stated that Phil had a family, but he had something important that he was living for, whereas Luke was the only one that was just kind of living for himself. And so you see this, that recognition that Dom is not going to make it. He recognizes that in turn gives Luke purpose, because he's like, I'm not just for myself anymore. It's for my friends who died out here. I have to make it back, to tell their families that they tried, like tell them what happened, that they tried everything they could to make it back home to you guys. So it gives him a purpose outside of himself
yeah.
to bring
And
that.
that's where I came up with the dream casting ability from the demigod. Is when I saw Gail, when Gail was coming to Dom, like
Yeah,
before the sacrifice happened. I understood that the demigod is able to dreamcast that kind of stuff. He was almost like being merciful to
in a
Dom at that
way,
point
yeah.
until he breaks out and realizes what the fuck's happened, and then you see that motherfucker, and it's terrifying.
It is creepy, dude, where he grabs him by the head, and he sees it's Gale grabbing him by the head, like his face, and then looking right into his eyes, but then Gale's eyes are glowing, and it's like, oh shit, like that's the demigod.
Yeah.
And I tried looking it up, because going back to the younger lady, she talks about, it's what he's like, what is this thing? He's like, it's an ancient god, one of the Jonten, or however you pronounce that in Swedish or Norwegian or whatever.
It just means son of Loki. I'm pretty sure because that's how like Jormungandr and stuff like that. That's what it says. Let me see.
She
No, it's
says
that word, that Yuntan word. It means the winter people in. Oh God.
because she says it's an ancient god, one of the Jonten or Junten or however she says it. She has the accent. I can't say it. The Junten, a bastard offspring of Loki.
Mm-hmm. I'm doing some research. I could have swore I saw earlier that it meant like that it was like the
A group
offspring
of.
of Loki.
Yeah.
I'm getting a group of giants.
it
So I mean, Loki
yeah,
was a giant. So
yeah. It's spelled Jotunn with a little
hmm
weird double dot
Yeah,
over the O.
Jonton. Yeah, the umlaut, I think is what that's called. A type of supernatural being in Germanic mythology and Norse mythology. They often contrasted with the gods. Aesir and Vanir, the other non-human figures such as dwarves, elves, blah blah
Okay.
blah.
So it's part
Yeah,
of the mythological or folklore or mythos or yeah, part of mythology. There we go. I'd get the word out eventually.
yeah,
But in
the Jontun are also mentioned in Beowulf.
hmm
Yeah, I think giant is the most description, and
yeah.
trolls are included in it. It seems like.
well, it is a giant.
When
That's
you
for damn sure.
Yeah.
It's freaking
I mean,
massive.
like I said, Loki is a mix of the giants and the frost people, technically. Like in a lot of lores, like Norse mythology, that's what it is. And then since I know we're gonna hit the next part is the big weird like worship circle that's upstairs after what is he? He's like break his wrist or something to get out of the bindings.
He breaks his thumb right before
Fingers, it
Dom's
looked like.
sacrificed. You can see Luke struggling to get out of his bindings. And, he can hear what's happening to Dom outside. So you could see him really like struggling, like hurrying up, and he realizes like I'm gonna have to break my thumb if I want to get this restraint off of my wrist so I can be free. And he still
Yeah.
wants to help Dom. So he
Yeah.
breaks his thumb, and then he gets
Mhm.
free, which is crazy.
Yeah. He
I'm like,
finds the fire, and then he goes upstairs. And so I'm glad I finally looked this up because I don't know why I was being such a fucking prude about not looking this up. But the people upstairs, everybody that's seated upstairs in the worship room that's worshiping the guy at the front, which is
yeah,
the beast, the demigod. That's the rotting bodies of the people in the village. They're called.
oh,
He finds a congregation of rotting living dead because they're all living, and
yeah,
it's the humans that through their worship of the Jotun have been given a nightmarish version of everlasting life. So those are the actual bodies of the people. The people that are outside are just like things that he creates for them, like how he creates his body, like through like the weird like fucking elk or whatever. Their bodies are left up there to rot in the sticks and twigs and stuff like that. But that's actually them, the people that were like in the cult. And when he
oh,
burns it,
okay.
he actually like sacrifices their, I guess,
Their
I
bodies
don't
or
know,
whatever. Yeah,
immortality or something. Yeah,
like he burns them to the ground. That would suck if you're that old, like you're
yeah,
decaying, you're dying, you're still alive, and then you get burned. You're just like,
yeah.
fuck, it's never gonna end,
Well,
and you're still alive.
and that's the reason why the demigod attacks them after that because they're no longer worshipers of him. Their bodies have been burned upstairs, so they no longer worship him. So they don't. He does not protect them anymore. So that's why he starts to kill them and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, that's true
Oh,
because
so you're saying that the people that are upstairs are the little creature old people that are upstairs are the exact same people that are downstairs, but their physical bodies are. Oh, that does make
yeah,
sense. I didn't know what that was either.
those are the living physical bodies of the people that are in the cult. And
they're
they're just
projections.
they're
Yeah,
yeah, projections are outside, but the projections are things that the demigod gave them. And since the actual physical, like rotting, living flesh was burned upstairs, they no longer worshipped him at that point. And that's why he attacks them.
yeah, because after the the Juntin, we'll just call it that,
hmm
kills Dom and puts him up in the tree. Which I wonder why. Wonder what the meaning of him sticking these dead people up in the tree is for. Like, what is all that all about? Why does he do that?
I assumed that it was people that weren't worthy and were not willing to worship him, so he kills them. That's what I got it off. How like he saw in Luke somebody that would be willing to like what's the word I'm looking for? Like succumb
Surrender.
to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, surrender to him. These other people had fight in them, had something to fight for, so he immediately killed them. The rest of the people didn't. That one lady, I'm
Oh.
pretty sure she was just a solo hiker, got lost in the woods. She had nothing else, so
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was able to take her.
That's true. Or her family died because she was like in that wallet they found. There was a picture of a family. I think she was either the little girl because there was
Yeah.
there was a little girl, a little boy, and then mom and dad, or she was the mom.
hmm
I can't remember. I didn't get a good look at the picture.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So the people that you see in the village, those are just projections, which again gives back to like it being a bastard son of Loki, because Loki's able to like make projections of things and of himself. So that makes sense that they would have that type of projection power.
And I kind of wish I could go back and like do like a freeze frame of the embodiment of the Jotun, in because I it looked devilish, whatever it was at the very like epicenter of the congregation
Yeah, when
upstairs.
he's
It
sitting
looked
in
pretty
that,
bad, but I don't feel like I never stop and look at it.
I don't know. Then again, it kind of just glances over it when he like looks over everything. You kind of just get a
Yeah,
brief scan of it, but it looks pretty, pretty demonic looking, honestly.
yeah.
But he sets it all on fire, and this is the funny part. Yeah, he comes down the stairs.
Bam!
Yeah,
It's such a stupid punch too. He just goes pow, knocks her ass out.
she comes around the corner and like she doesn't say anything. She just kind of like looks at him stupidly, and he looks at her. Oh
Knocks her out cold.
yeah, cold clocks her. Just yow. And I think it's great. After he knocks out the old lady, he then goes and finds a gun, which I don't know what it's some type of bolt action rifle. I don't know, maybe Kyle
Like
you'd
an
be able to
old
figure.
style, like M1 Grand looking motherfucker. Like shit's been out there for a
I don't
while.
know, it takes 2
No, I
bullets.
didn't.
You didn't notice that? I
It
figured
didn't, it
you would.
didn't. That's all he found.
Oh, that's
You
right.
He
know
only
that?
found 2 bullets. He didn't.
Yeah.
It
And
takes
then he,
more. I didn't look
yeah,
up what it was.
dumbass only grabs 2 bullets. I'm grabbing handfuls. I'm grabbing pocketfuls of shit like that, man. Come on.
I
And
think
then
he
he
only
wastes
found
one
2.
bullet on Buddy.
There's, huh?
Because he's looking through the.
He wastes one of the bullets on the guy. Because also, I thought it was really weird that the congregation wasn't very like, they weren't like really like violent with him. Because that one guy comes around the corner, the bald guy, and he's like, sit, sit, sit. And he's like, no, fuck you. I'm not sitting.
I'm getting
And
out
he's
of
not
here.
like trying to like hurt him or anything. And he fucking like click, fuck.
No, I know.
And he just shoots his ass.
Colt clocks a lady and then shoots the bald guy.
I
Then
was not trying to
proceeds.
be violent whatsoever.
Yeah, I know, right? And then as he, he's trying to get out of the burning shack that he's in now, he sees the Jotun outside, and he's like, "Oh fuck that!" And that creepy bastard puts his head down and looks at him through the door. And you're like, "Oh shit!" And he says,
Well, the
"No,
other thing was he drops the body too, which I think this is something I might have just like glanced over that I'd like to do more research on. He drops the body of the girl that he grabs from the congregation that's all outside, and her eyes are like missing or some
yeah."
shit like
He
that.
gouged her eyes out. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Does it mean like? I think I know what it means, because he doesn't want them looking at him. He wants them to just bow and worship him, like submit. Just don't look. Just immediate. Just don't look. Just submit and kneel.
Yep, that's probably it. And then he like busts out the back door, takes
Yeah.
the fuck off. He cannot stay. He cannot stand or run for shit either. Also, that part in the movie. So that's the only reason why I ever watched The Ritual back in the day, is because I saw that part of it. I saw the part where he like stumbles and falls over, and he sees
Looks
the
back,
Jotun
yeah.
like carrying the person, and he's just like, I know what to do. Let's shoot it with my 1 bullet. Ooh, and it just goes.
And I was like,
That's.
bitch.
I saw a TikTok of that, and I was like, I gotta watch this movie. What the fuck is happening?
Yeah. And that was a good, like, enticing, like, scene or, edit of the movie. It's just that one scene where he looks back and you see this monstrous, eldritch creature looking thing with the hands on its face and these huge antlers. Immediately when I first saw that, I thought of, like, a Wendigo myth, folklore or something like
I
that.
thought
I'm
that's
like,
what it was about. To be honest, it looks like a Wendigo. To be honest,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like in traditional, get off topic a little bit with the Wendigo. In traditional Algonquin folklore, the Wendigo is not in the shape of like what pop culture says it is today. Like it has antlers and stuff. Like that, something made up. Like I'm not sure who made that up, but we gave it that design. The Wendigo is a spirit. It's all it is a spectral being that infests and inhabits a person once they commit the act of cannibalism. And then that slowly makes them turn into like this rakish, feral version of themselves. But never once does it like grow horns and have like the face of a deer skull or anything like that, an elk skull or nothing like that. That's something, I don't know, that they've that up in like Appalachia, I guess, where they think those things are. Off topic. But anyways, going back to that, he escapes from the house, shoots the thing. I'm guessing misses or, shoots it, and it's like,
No, he hits it, and it's just like, what the fuck?
you son of a
He
bitch.
definitely nails it.
Yeah, right in the head. What a great shot. But I'm like, buddy, why would you do? You had so many chances to just run. Just fucking run.
I know. I'm not looking back
Well, see,
after that.
the thing about running though, you talk about him being a Dreamcaster. One of the other things I noticed is that I don't think it really would have mattered if they could use a compass properly, because I think he kept changing the layout of the forest in order to
Yeah.
keep
Them
them in that
lost.
circle, and we're
And it
about to
was-
get to.
And it was all eventually leading them to, I guess, that village to where, people would die. Interesting. And as he's running away, like right before, it knocks him off balance and does that weird thing, he starts seeing visions of the liquor store. Like he's running through the aisles of the liquor store and there's the fluorescent lights overhead, which I thought cinematically, that was excellent. Like I love that that imagery of like the liquor store in the forest with a thing running behind
His ability
the
to
aisles,
run in that forest was terrible.
Yeah.
running in
It was some
terror.
weak running.
Anyways, he runs through this weird projection of, his nightmare. The thing freaking hits him, which I thought it would have just freaking smushed him, dude, because it freaking straight up stiff arms him, dude. Wow, knocks his ass, lays his ass
runs
out.
his ass over.
I know. I'm like, oh, that's it. He's done. Like, there's no getting up from that, but somehow he does, and this thing's just kind of, hovering over him or standing over him. And what does it do? Like, he's on his knees in like a submissive position, and he happens to look up, and that's when it freaking stands up on its hind legs and does like the weird fucking symbol looking thing.
Yeah.
And he sees like the full representation of this entity. Like, I'm not sure, it's posing for something, I guess, like the sign of worship or something like that, or its deity.
It's the same the little twisted head body thing. It's the same orientation as all the bodies that are trees. So it's
Oh,
like chest opens up and you see the rib cage and like you see the hands that are upside down but also
Yeah.
on top. It's weird.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
weird. So he sees the full scope of this thing, and he's looking up at it, which obviously that's why it killed these people. It doesn't want you looking at it. So what does it do? It forces him back down to the ground, and it like puts its hand on his face and like holding him down, like, you will worship me, you will submit. This is where his will's being tested once again. It's like, it's not killing me, so I could submit and survive right now. But he feels, I guess, his drive to make it back to, home, to tell, what happened to his friends, the promise he made to Dom, is still prevalent in his head. And he's like, now fuck this. Like, I have to push through this fear, like the same fear that he had when he was in the liquor store when Rob got killed. He's like, I have to overcome this and not submit to fear. And that's, like, I guess, a good symbolism of him submitting to his fear, because he had the chance to in the liquor store to overcome his fear, fight back, and he didn't. Now he's kind of faced with the same dilemma here, but it's very much, more supernatural. The stakes are a little bit higher now.
Yeah. The metaphor was really good at that point, because when he forces his head down, he looks to the side and he sees Rob after he got like hit.
Yeah.
And also, the one thing is, I don't know where that axe came from. No clue where that axe came from. I
Oh.
need to go back and watch. Did he grab it or something?
Yeah, he grabbed it right before he left the house. When he broke through the house, he saw an axe on the ground or something like that. He scoops it up with the rifle, and that's when he breaks through. He fires one night's time. Obviously, the thing's like, "Hey, bitch, that's not doing anything." So that's when he runs off. And he leaves the gun behind, the rifle behind, and just starts running through the woods with this axe. But anyways,
And then the symbolism is he sees Rob and he sees the axe, and the axe is representation of the bottle.
yeah,
Because he had a chance. Because maybe he flips the bottle up. It actually kind of looks like the axe from the very beginning opening scene. He has a chance now to do the exact same thing he did, submit to his, selfishness and just like,
His fear,
worship
yeah.
this God. Or he could take action and do what he couldn't do before. And that's exactly what he does. He picks up the broken axe
axe.
and he slices the animal.
Because it grabs him and picks him up, and he has this axe in his head. And he's like, "No, bitch!" Wow! Hacks
One
it
good
right in
little
the face.
slice.
I know. It drops him, and then he proceeds to run away. And it's like, damn. So, full character arc there, I think, from where he
Yeah.
started in the beginning. He now finds the strength and the meaning to carry on and to push past his own fear to need to overcome it.
So, one of the questions I have at the end of this is why does the beast let him go?
I
Because
think,
right there at the end, as he's running away at the edge of the forest, he finally lets him get out of that sphere of influence he had. I think he does that on purpose. He allows him to leave.
yeah, because
So if he feeds off of the suffering, he wants worshippers. Why doesn't he just murder them? What is it about the redemption arc that makes it to where the beast lets him go? Or do you think that Luke just genuinely made it outside of his reach? What's happening there?
I want to say, because after he hits the Juntan, he makes it out of the woods. He makes it to the clearing. He's standing on that hill, and the sun's coming up, and the thing comes right up to the edge of the forest and is just kind of peering out at him. And that's when they kind of have like that weird screaming match. I think the Juntan is confined to the forest. It can't exist outside of that forest. It's kind of trapped there. But also, it doesn't try to like Dreamcast again to like weaken him or like draw him back or anything like that, because it can't,
I don't
because
think it
it
can. Yeah.
yeah, because he doesn't have that internal fear that he had. He conquered that pain, that trauma that he had, and then he was able to not be under this influence. He wasn't susceptible to its powers anymore. Therefore, he's able to say, forget you, dude. I made it through. You can't get me. Ah. And like I know, like that scream was like really cathartic for him because he was letting out all the frustration of everything that just happened, and also the frustration of all the inner turmoil he had was all just released. And he's like, I did it. I made it through. Like he found the purpose to live and to survive. And then
I completely agree with that. I totally think that the Jotun is confined to the forest. The reason why I think he let him go is we're going to go back to the fact that the Jotun did not try to kill him at the end. The Jotun wanted him to worship him. It's because he basically tore apart everything he has that worships him. He burned down all the
Yeah.
bodies. He has to have something to thrive off of. So that's why he tried to continue to like
to make him
thrive off
some,
that weakness from Luke and like make him, and he broke free of it, which is good. Which that's when the dreamcasting really kind of fucked it up, because if the Jotun didn't dreamcast at that moment, he wouldn't have saw Rob and got the nod of appreciation, like you can let me go if you make this move. But
yeah,
when he got
redeem
outside of the
yourself.
forest, I think the Jotun realizes that the only way they'll have more people coming back into that forest is to let him go. It was kind of a double-edged sword right there, because now Luke is going to go out and have more people go into the forest, and he has another chance to get more people to worship him, because that's the only way he can thrive. It's going to be weak now, but Luke is still alive. Luke will go out and tell people about this, which he'll probably get locked in the fucking loony bin for telling people about that shit.
And then
definitely
dumbasses
gonna get
like
blamed
us,
for all the
yeah,
we're gonna
dumbasses
go
like
back
us
in
will
there.
watch that story like, let's go do that. Let's go hiking.
Let's go do it. Let's do it. Let's
But
go
I think
hiking.
I think he was very much like confined to the forest, but that was the reason why I think it let him go. It realized that it probably didn't see the weakness anymore, but it just saw the opportunity to get more people to come to the forest for him to thrive off of, since his cult is now gone.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
what are you going to tell the cops?
If you're Luke,
I'm gonna pretend like that shit didn't happen, to be very honest, because you go tell the cops this fucking Jotun beast just murdered half my friends. There's a fucking cult out there. First off, you're getting blamed for every single murder that's been happening in that forest. You're the
I'd
person
say
that fucking did it.
I got run that it was a cult.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like there's a cult
I'd
out
totally
there.
leave the beast out of it.
Y'all
That's
go
true.
out there. I'm not going though.
And
Y'all can go do that.
And I wonder, it's like how much. Well, no, I guess we can pretty much definitively say like the Jotun is very much real. It's an entity that exists. It's not like a form of imagination or hallucination that he makes up in his head to project like his own problems or whatever. because everyone experiences the reach of the monster.
Yeah. Overall,
And-
good movie though, man. That's for being a Netflix movie, man. I really appreciate that Netflix actually produced something like that compared to all the other shitty movies they've put out. But
Since then, yeah, it's been kind of downhill.
Yeah.
Not to shit on Netflix, but yeah, as far as horror movies go, I feel that was a good one. They have,
I haven't.
Netflix does have some other good horror movies. I'd have to go back because I've watched some of them and they're really good. Like spooky, scary, interesting. Oh, and that's one thing I wanted to touch on. The proper way to watch these movies to get the full effect. Something I guess I noticed because Brady, you watched it during the day. I watched it last night. When did you watch it, Kyle? Today?
During the day today, yeah.
Yeah. The effects of them when they're out in the darkness in the woods at the hut at night, it does give it a different feel. I could see trying to watch that during the day. It's not as intense because you're not in that environment yourself. Being in the dark, with this imagery of the darkness in the movie, really like gives it a little bit more depth and impact, I feel. So maybe that's something we should be conscious of when we're doing honest reviews of these movies. Make sure we watch it with the full effect, in the dark, how scary movies are supposed to be observed to really get you spooked. That's just one thing I wanted to go over and point out. But overall, go ahead.
I wanted to provide an answer to one of the questions earlier. The rifle is a Carabiner 98K chambered in 7.92 by 57. It was manufactured in Germany in 1937. Yeah, it's a Mauser.
Damn, and it's still able to fire.
yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Damn, okay. Oh, interesting. But okay.
Well, let's get our overall takes of these movies. Kyle, I want to hear you talk, man. You've been kind of quiet on this one, so I want to hear your overall take of the movie.
I cannot tell y'all. I think if you go back and look, I'm like, I really want to go to Sweden right now. Like, I definitely want to do this trail. Maybe not the 10-mile one. Maybe do the one that goes through, because they have huts out there. Like, I never didn't even cross my mind to think of how strange is it to find huts on the side. Maybe it's normal to find huts on the side.
Yeah.
Of some trails, but the trails that I've been on, I don't normally see huts. Normally, you have like a start location, and you plan your route, and it's like 20 miles or something, and then you have the next stop. But this is like huts like that were along the way, and sure enough, that appears to be the same way that it is on some of these trails in North Sweden. But yeah, that's why I didn't. For a good portion of it, I just got really involved in wanting to go on another backpacking trip.
You're doing your
That
own
aside,
research and everything.
And I was mapping out 10
I love it.
miles. So if they were
I love it.
on King's Trail, the real King's Trail, my man, don't get lost in a 10-mile stretch. There's no reason. There's just no need. Stop the madness. Now, if they were a little bit north of that King's, or the King Laden King's Trail, if they were a little bit north of it, I didn't map that out. That one looks massive though. Like that's going to be a multi-day affair, which sounds like it's more accurate to the movie because they had talked about hey we camped once, they went another day, and they tried to camp, and they could see the hut way out in the distance.
Yeah, the lodge.
Anyway, some overall thoughts on the movie. I definitely give this one a solid 7.5.
7.5 out of 10.
Maybe an 8. It was good. Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed the movie. Great acting. Character development was pretty good, especially without any backstories. It really provided it in context. Yeah, solid. Character creation. I don't know who brought that up, but man, that really. A lot of times when people try to show you the monster, it's not as scary as it is whenever you imagine the monster, because you can imagine something far scarier than anything that could be put on the screen. That did a pretty good job. That did a pretty good job of a monster. I'd
say
I'd be scared.
Yeah, I felt it delivered on the actual creature design, and you get all this ominous representation and feeling and emotion you get from it just being hidden and not seen. And when it finally comes on screen, you're like, oh my God, like this is like an eldritch type god, cosmic, entity. It's like it's creepy as all hell and it's scary in that aspect. Like I said, I was watching it at night and I was just like, that's pretty scary because in my bedroom we have like this huge glass window, and at the very top where the curtains can't cover, there's like a little pane glass. I'm like, God, I could just see that thing freaking peering at me through that top glass. I'm like, oh God, no.
The little beady yellow eyes.
I know, dude. I think that was like a interesting detail that, the massive size of it, its eyes are these little bitty beams. That makes it so much more impactful because it's like this massive creature, yet it has eyes that can focus so well and they're so small. So, there's so much intent and like purpose behind when it looks at you. Like it's, it has plans for you. It's like, oh man, it's
The eyes reminded me of those little scavenger creatures on Tatooine.
Oh yeah.
That was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah. Houdini. Yeah. But yeah, for my overall score, I'm gonna go with Kyle. I'm gonna give it a solid 8. 8 out of 10. What about you, Brady?
Just because I've had history with this movie and it really like hit me, I didn't think it was gonna be that good a movie. Considering it's a Netflix created movie, I'm going 8.5. I really enjoy this movie. It's something I can watch several times. I do have my vices with it. I don't like that there was a lack of character development, like just background character development, and the fact that Phil is just not a character that even needed to necessarily be in the movie.
Yeah.
It was scripted out really well. The pacing's really, really good. I really love the pacing of the movie. I think the screen time of the Jotun, the creature, perfect. It was not too little. It wasn't too much. It was impactful enough to where you got to see that one shining scene where it's like you can see the full embodiment of it in the background of the burning hut. Like you got to see it. It was
It's full
scary.
silhouette. Yeah.
Yeah, the noises it
Imposing,
made.
intimidating. Yeah.
The Icelandic, like Nordic noises it made when it was like chanting and stuff like that was terrifying.
The sound design was incredible. Like the way they sound designed the vocalization of the Jotun. That and like the little chapel where all the dead, the villagers and stuff are worshiping, like that garbled, like guttural sound whenever they take Dom up to that chapel and they say they're preparing him for the ritual. Like, I'm like, God, just hearing that by itself, just that audio clip of like that weird chanting they're doing, that was spooky. I was like, God, it sounds terrifying up there. And Dom's screaming the whole time, just in fear. Yeah. And it's like, oof, it's impactful.
Yes. Solid 8.5 for me. It's a really good, like, I don't know what you would. It's just, in general, horror movie. I guess I don't know what would you guys label this movie?
Cosmic horror, for sure.
Cosmic horror. Yeah, overall solid movie. The ending is a little lackluster. I like the ending. Don't get me wrong. I love the ending.
Yeah.
But it makes you yearns for more. Even though there doesn't need to be. I don't want them to make another movie. That would be dumb because they did such a good job ending it. Just overall solid cosmic horror movie with really good internal guts and just a really good script, good pacing, good creature development. I loved it. It's one of my favorite scary movies. So,
okay, definitely, I'd recommend it to all of our listeners. If you haven't watched it yet, I know some of the people in the comments on the TikTok video said they were interested in it. It's definitely worth a watch. If you haven't watched it yet, go check it out.
And watch it at night.
And watch it at night. That's that's the trick. You got to watch it at night when scary movies are their scariest in the dark.
Agreed.
All right. So, movie review, commentary, that's out of the way. So, overall, we're going to rate it, 8 out of 10? Sound fair? Because we all pretty much had an 8. Yeah,
I agree.
All right, 8 out of 10 review. Solid. All right, now we go on to... Sorry, I know this is weird, taking us out of the mode we were in to go back to the script or the format, the outline. Yeah.
I think we're on cryptid hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can go to cryptid hunting. All right. So you guys got the list I sent you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we got, I believe, because these are all Swedish and Germanic, names. They have accents on them, but I'm gonna pronounce them as best I can. We have the Naken or the Naken, something like that. I said so. The Naken, hunt the Naken, and the reward is $10,000 plus you get his magic violin because the Naken in Swedish folklore, he's a water spirit that plays his violin that draws people to him, and then he drowns them obviously. So $10,000 reward, and you get his magic violin, and you can do whatever you want with that violin, whether you play it, keep it, use it for whatever devious acts you want, or sell it to make extra cash because it's a magic violin. Then we have trolls, which a very classic Swedish folklore. $30,000 reward for tracking that son of a bitch down and killing him, which is no easy task. If anybody out there has seen the movie Troll Hunter, that's another good one. We need to review that one. Troll Hunter, really good. It's all in Swedish or Norwegian, I believe. But $30,000 reward for killing one of those bad boys, plus you gain some of its physical strength. Interesting to think about there. Then we have the Lindworm. $500,000 reward, plus a story gets made about you and your experience, and you get royalties from the sales of the book and the movie. Yeah, you get a story wrote and a movie made, plus you get royalties. 500,000 reward for the Lindworm. And the Lindworm is a serpent dragon that lives in the forest, and it attacks humans on sight. Very vicious and scary, but has also been known to raid graveyards and eat dead bodies. Or we have the Vitra or Vitra. These are spirits. I guess I should give a brief, just depiction of each of the cryptids so you know what you're dealing with. But the Vitra, are what these spirits that reside in the underground. They live under the earth, and they only come out. I'm not sure they never describes what their intent is when they come out, but they live among us, but they're invisible. So it's kind of like ethereal, spectral kind of thing. But there's a lot of them. In the folklore, the Swedish folklore, the Vitra come from, I can't remember the name, but she was a wife of Adam, Adam and Eve. She was
Lilith?
No, not Lilith. They have a different name for her in Norwegian. You'd have to look it up, but I can't remember what it's called. But it's not Lilith. But she was one of the original wives of Adam in this folklore. But she was cursed because she had too many children. Apparently, she bore too many children. Overpopulation was crazy, and so for that she was punished. And so God said, you can live on earth, but you have to live, but no one can see you. You have to be unseen. So I guess, they made them spectral and they're invisible. $5,000 reward for each one you kill, plus you gain the power of invisibility. So, and I guess we can all, since I came up with four monsters or four cryptids. You can pick 3 that you would do the most.
Ready, go.
All right. Well, we're talking money-wise. As long as I can have a good little troop of boys with me, I'm going for the Lindworm, man. I'm trying to kill that motherfucker. You need some money, and have a badass Netflix show or Netflix movie made about me and the boys killing a Lindworm. That just sounds badass. And if you die doing it, sounds cool too. So
hopefully, someone lives to tell the tale, though.
Hopefully, we need a Luke. Actually, we don't. No, we don't need a Luke in this group whatsoever.
I don't know. I don't think any of us are Luke in this scenario.
God forbid anybody's a Phil. But I'm going Lindworm if the boys can help me hunt it. The Vitra just because it'd be cool. So, do you get invisibility after you kill the first one?
Yeah, because that's the only way. The trick is you have to somehow find a way to hunt the Vitra, even though it's invisible. You got to find some way to hunt it, kill it, even though it's invisible, But once you kill the first one, you then gain the ability of invisibility. That makes you able to see the rest of them, so you can continue hunting them, and it's $5,000 reward for each one you kill.
Yeah.
So the first one's the really challenging part. Yeah.
Okay, even better. So first challenge I'm going for is a Vitra. Give me a Vitra kill, invisibility. That's the only one I need. Second kill I'm going for is Lindworm. I'm invisible at that point. That's going to be a lot of help killing that motherfucker with a group of boys. And then thirdly, I'd go for the what's it called?
The Nakin?
Nakin. Just
Yeah.
because first I'm invisible again, and I want a badass fucking violin. Sneaking, swimming up on that motherfucker and put it in a headlock. We're good to go. Dunsky. Those are my
Fucking
three
play.
right there.
Grab his violin, start playing The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Dance,
All right.
bitch.
So two ways that I'm going to do it. Originally, I didn't think about that. Brady makes a good point. He's not wrong. Originally, I was going to say that I'd either go for the Lindworm or the Troll because I don't know how to kill spirits. I don't know how to do it. I mean, unless I take an exorcism class, but I'm not sure that would work. So I really wouldn't want to go for those two. I would love to be a troll hunter. That'd be cool. I can go for some big game. I wasn't super hot on the Lindworm. It just felt like it'd be a remake of Anaconda.
Well, think about it.
But I could see that. But
It's a dragon, a serpent dragon you're hunting, though. It's massive. It's terrifying.
that's kinda
and
cool.
it's going to attack
But
you on
your troll
sight.
strength. Yeah, your troll strength's going to come in handy if you go for the troll first, though.
so that's what I was about to say. I have a different answer than Brady did. If we're gonna go in like how to make use of the things, I would go for the Nakin first. Get the violin, and then I would lure whichever creature I wanted to next. I could lure me in some Vitra, kill the Vitra. Now that I'm invisible, can sneak up on the troll. Hit the troll, and now I'm super strong. I'm just gonna put the Lindworm in a headlock. Let's go. Let's do it.
Take them all out. There you go. All right, solid. I don't know. I'm thinking, in order of me being able to use the most of the abilities you get from killing these things, I would try first to kill the Vitra. That way I gain the power of invisibility. Then I hunt a couple more Vitra, however you pronounce their names. Build up a good amount of money, because it's $5,000 a piece. Get a hell of a good arsenal and equipment and boys with me. Then I hunt the Nakin. Like Brady said, just sneak up behind that son bitch because you're invisible, put him in a headlock, and he's done. Then you gain his violin. And then with the violin, you have invisibility. Play the magic violin. Lure the Lindworm to you. Because you're invisible, it's just going to come naturally to you. Plus, like the Lindworm will attack you on sight. As soon as it sees you, it's going for you. There's no hesitation. And even if you don't see it first, it's going to get you. So that's where invisibility comes in real handy, because it can't get you because it can't see you. But all it is coming toward the sound of the music from the violin. So it comes up on you. You have this huge arsenal. It'd be like Attack on Titan, dude. You'd have like a whole freaking thing set up, a trap set up for it. So whenever that son bitch comes right through, you freaking fire all grenades and everything else, take that son gun out. Then, since that happens, you get a badass $500,000 reward. Plus, you get to they write a story about you and make a movie. Means you can they read a story about you first hunting the Vitra down, gaining invisibility. Then you hunt the Nakin down, take it out. Then a story gets written about how you're a prodigy when it comes to playing music on a violin. You get record sales out the ass. Then
you live out the rest of your life as a fucking musician.
Exactly. And then, Lindworm, that's just a huge blockbuster. It's almost like a trilogy, dude. They can make a trilogy out of that, make stupid money, become super wealthy, super renowned, well-known, and live out the rest of my days in northern Sweden, going on hikes with my boys.
Hunting the Jotun.
Yeah,
except for in the winter, I feel like that's going to get really cold.
Yeah.
Oh, that would really suck, yeah.
You got enough money to have a house in like
I
Mexico
know.
or like Spain or something at that point.
At this point, I'd have a really dope house. Like, I would not be cold in winter. But overall, yeah. So that's the cryptid hunt.
Not bad.
And to our audience,
Not bad.
which cryptid would you choose to hunt in that order? What would be your favorite? How would you go about it? Excuse me. Interesting. See if any of that catches any comments. That'd be fun. All right. Now we move on to audience engagement. Duh. What I just said. How would you guys go about cryptid hunting those things? You got the Nakin, trolls, the lindworm, and the vitra. Let us know in the comments. And you can find.
And then what about the? Go ahead.
I said, and if you, the way you can find and leave your message in the comments or message us directly at Seance Sunday Podcast at gmail.com. Send in your emails. Let us know. Also, you can make suggestions on which movie you guys want us to review at Seance Sunday Podcast at gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube at Seance Sunday Podcast, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all other podcasts, wherever you get your podcast fix, Seance Sunday Podcast, and on TikTok at Seance Sunday Podcast again.
Plug them all.
That's all the plugs we have. I'm working on getting.
No one else came up with Seance Sunday. We just got all the usernames.
We did. We got lucky. There was
Solid boy.
like someone put their name before it, Joe Schmo's Seance Sunday Podcast, but we're just Seance Sunday Podcast. I guess we looked at on the name. So we got that.
Need to get the bitch trademarked.
If we get big
I'm
enough.
speaking it into existence.
And we
trademark right here. Seance Sunday Podcast.
Yeah. And we get sponsors. We get trademarks. Trademark this.
The first sponsor, it doesn't matter. We just need one. So let's get them rolling in.
That's right.
I do have a suggestion though. I know we still have some movies, rolling through that we might want to watch just for our suggestions next time. I'm throwing in something that's a little bit different. I've heard really good things about a mini series on Netflix called Midnight Mass. I don't know if you guys have heard it before. It looks absolutely terrifying.
Is it terrifying? I thought that was supposed to be like engaging and like interesting.
It looks pretty scary. Like the basis I get from it is like this congregation in a church brings in this entity or demon that like is supposedly like the second coming of Jesus, but it's straight up demon. It is a demon dressed in a cloak and it has wings and stuff like that, and it looks hella scary. And I really want to watch it, so I'm gonna watch it either way. But it's just my suggestion this week of what we should watch, a little Netflix miniseries. So
that's good.
That's a full day's work, man. That's 7 hours and 30 minutes of film time.
We got 2 hours. I mean, not 2 hours. We got 2 weeks before the next one for the next podcast, True. So we could do time.
You're right.
Well, then again, this is where we leave it up.
Suggestion this week.
Yeah, we leave it up to the audience. What would you guys want to hear less? Because you guys did choose the ritual this week for this week's episode. Which shout out to everyone who left a comment, put in their requests and submissions. Thank you for doing that. It means a lot to us. As above, so below. The Void. Talk to Me. What can be a fourth one? Oh, the Midnight Mass. Yeah. You guys choose what you guys want us to review. We got 3 movies and then 1 series. Let us know. And once again, shamelessly plugging our socials. Find us on TikTok at Seance Sunday Podcast. YouTube, Seance Sunday Podcast. If you enjoy listening to this, wherever you're listening to it, if you're, in podcast form, we do have a video form that's on YouTube. Go check us out there. You can see us, what we look like. We're all a bunch of goofballs, 3 old friends that, just like to talk about all things creepy, cryptid, horrible, terrifying, and awesome. But that's the last plug. I'll get on that. All right, well, if that's it, I think we've covered everything tonight, boys. And we thank you for joining us on another wonderful episode of the Seance Sunday Podcast, where we talk about all things creepy, cryptid, horrible, terrifying, and awesome. Join us next time, where we review whatever you guys want us to. So make sure to leave those comments, or leave your vote in those comments. Peace out. Night, boys.
Hi, boys.
Later, guys.
Later.